Okay, so we know that half steps are two notes that are right next to each other on the keyboard, whether they're black or white, and whole steps are two notes away from each other on the keyboard, no matter whether they're black or white. And we can use a certain pattern of whole steps and half steps to make scales. And for major scales, which I would say are the most important, only because we can use them as a reference point for everything for the future, are made up of this pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So two whole steps and then a half, and then three whole steps and a half. And we have minor scales also, which are related to the major scales. So if you look at this, you see that my major scale, we have a C major scale, and you don't see any accidentals. You see no flats or sharps. Well, if I wanted to know what the relative minor of C major is, I would write my scale based on the sixth degree, the sixth note of a C major scale. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so I'm going to have an A minor scale, and I have that right beneath it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and it's related, it's relative, because they both have the same notes in it. C major has no sharps or flats, A minor also has no sharps or flats. And what gives this a minor sound, because we started on a different note, now has a different pattern of half steps and whole steps. So A to B would be a whole step, B to C would be half step there. Whereas here we had two halves and a whole, I'm sorry, two wholes and a half. Now we have one whole and a half. C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a whole step, F to G is a whole step, and G to A is a whole step. Now, I talked a while ago about that T do, why this major scale works. If you break it up into two sections, it gives you that half step gives you that idea of tension and release. So I have, I would have, and I'm not singing the exact pitches, but C, D, E, F gives us that preparation that okay, that's that gives us that expectation. That's what I'm going to hear. But then when I go G, A, I'm gonna get ready to hear it. B, C. So there's the expectation, there's the confirmation. If I just played the C major scale and did the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, left it there, it kind of bothers you. You need that closure, that release, that tension, that going home. B, C, and now you feel a little better. If you check this minor scale, G to A is a whole step. That means that we've lost that whole step feeling. And harder minor scales are harder to sing. I'm not going to sing it for you, but if you look, we have that B, C, that half step feeling, that tension release. Here we don't have that as much. We don't get that feeling. So this is called a natural minor scale, even though it's relative to C, but this is called a natural minor scale because none of it has been changed. But we want that tension and release. So what it's very common for musicians to do, they will sharp the seventh degree. Now, when I'm playing or singing my minor scale, I have that G sharp to A, I have that half step, I have that tension release. Well, let's analyze this just a little bit further for a reason. And there isn't really a reason, but there is something different about this. So I have A to B, which is a whole step, B to C, which is a half step, C to D, which is a whole step, D to E, which is a whole step, E to F, which is a half step, and then F to G, which is actually a step and a half. And it's not really important to do that, but just letting you know it's okay. We still have our notes in alphabetical order. We just need that tension and release. We still have a G, but we just raised it a half step to make it a G sharp so the scale stays in order and it gives us that tension and release. It gives us that T-do, that feeling of going home. This is called a harmonic minor scale. So a natural scale would just be natural without any sharps or flats or any changes to any of the notes, I should say. Natural scale means there are no changes to any of the notes. It would have the same notes as its relative major scale, but the harmonic minor scale has the same notes, except we just sharp the seventh degree. We raise the seventh degree by a half step to get that T-do tension release going home feeling.